Is it actually possible to get rich quick, even in real estate? Let's talk about that. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you. You work so hard for your money, and you're now ready for that money to start working harder for you today. You don't want to wait 30 or 40 years for that money, right? You want to get that money working hard for you now, so you become work optional. You work because you want to, not because you have to. But it's not just about getting you rich and not just getting you to the place where you can, do what you want with those that you want, right? But even better than that is that you can also, because you're blessed financially, because you have greater capacity and means to do more with that money, you now can be a bigger blessing and create a ripple effect in the lives of others. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. And thank you for being a part of this show. Again, allowing me to create that ripple effect through you. You've been binging on these episodes. You've been sharing it with others. I know some of you guys even got your own little mastermind groups you're doing this with. You've got family members doing it. Hey, if you love this show, please share this with somebody else that you feel that this could positively impact their life today. All right, guys. So I'm bringing Shiloh Lundahl back with us today. Shiloh, if you don't know who he was, because obviously we're doing 2 episodes a week. If you haven't been following us for a long time, like some of you have been following us for 11 years now, Shiloh is actually a real estate investor. He's done over 250 properties. A lot of it been done internationally, like in Costa Rica. Beautiful properties out there, by the way, and just had a breadth of experience in the real estate space. And specifically, the question we want to talk about is, this whole get rich quick thing, right? I tend to poo poo all over that on the show, but is it actually possible in real estate? And if so, what's actually required? What is it that they're not telling you is needed for you to be able to get rich quick? So, Shiloh, welcome back to the show.
Well, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you allowing me to be on your show again. It was great. I think that we did the show, was it like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time, but yeah. So you and I met up at an event recently, and chatted again. And so thanks for letting me be on your show, and thanks for letting me do this topic that I want to do, which is how to get rich quick. Because there's so many people that talk negatively about this idea, get rich quick, and they usually add the term or the phrase scam. Get
Yes.
rich quick scam, right? But I think that you can get rich quick, but what you need to do is you need to define what rich is, and you also need to define what quick is.
Good
So
point.
for me, I would say um, becoming a millionaire within 5 years, I think, is becoming rich quick. So,
Mm.
can you become a millionaire within 5 years? I think that you absolutely can. My business partner and I, back in 2015, we did one deal together that year, and we were just kind of testing out the waters. He was a neighbor of mine, a former investor, gone bankrupt through the whole, 2008 and nine
Know that story.
debacle. And so he was just kind of licking his wounds and just kind of, his head was coming out of his turtle shell a little bit, trying things out again. And he had this deal, and I said to him, "I want to do a deal with you." So he's like, "All right, well, I have this deal. You can be the money lender on it." And I had opened up a credit line, or a home equity line of credit, and so I had some available cash. So I did this deal with him where I pretty much paid for everything, but he had the experience, and he earned like 40,000 on the deal with none of his own money. I brought in like 110,000 for just maybe 2 or 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and earned about 13,000. And this was really a game changer for me because it really kind of adjusted the way that I saw real estate. That real estate could very well be an avenue to earn, to make money much more than I would make in like a month or two. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
as a therapist, I'm a child and family therapist. I have a practice, and I meet with I don't know, maybe at the time I was meeting with about 100 clients a month, and I was making a little over $10,000 a month. But to be able to do this on the side and create $13,000, that was a huge game changer for me. And
Yeah.
so he and I, we built this friendship, and then we, in 2016, decided to start doing more deals together. We started doing some flips, and we did, I think, 6 flips that year, and each of us earned about $95,000. So
Mhm.
again, this other big, this big change and point of view change and everything like that. And so then we decided, well, let's go ahead and start a company. And rather than flipping, we're going to hold properties and we're going to sell them on lease options. We'd gone to a training out in Phoenix by this guy named John Burley. Does a fantastic training on lease options. Really, really great. Super affordable. He does the weekend training is this price, and then you can go and you can sign up for the longer training. We did the weekend training, but we did it like 3 times because it was really good. Gave a lot of great nuggets in that training, and so anyway, we do that training. We decide if we do these lease options, it looks like we could probably make a higher return. And a lot of these flips, they were getting smaller and smaller in the returns. And Jason and I didn't want to be landlords where we'd have to take care of, toilets and all of these things in the middle of the night. And so we're like, okay, how can we become like landlords and actually build wealth without really needing to do a lot of the work ourselves? And so we did get an assistant, which was helpful, but we sold these properties on a lease option where the tenants would really, take care of a lot of the repairs and everything like that. And so I would say that having a property on a lease option, and make sure you do it correctly if you're going to do it, but having a property out with a lease option, it takes, I would say, for every one rental, and all of the work that goes into one rental, you could probably have about 4 lease option properties and they would equal the same amount of work. So we were able to scale this company relatively quickly. We were able to get up to about 100 properties within about 3 years. And then in 2020, we bought some mobile home parks and some multifamily. But we continued to buy single family. And within about an 8-year period, I think about 6 or 7 to 8 years, we were able to build a company that had created about $8 million worth of equity. And so I would say, to answer the question, can you get rich quick? I would say, yes, you can. But there are some specific things that are required. One is you need to define what that really looks like. What would rich look like? And then what would quick look like? And it would be helpful to be like, I don't know, realistic in those terms. If you say, I want to get, $1 million by the end of this month. Well, I don't know how to do that. In fact, I don't know if you saw the Undercover Billionaire
Mhm.
series that came
Yeah.
I know that was so great. I learned so much from that. But I mean, you look at them, and it took them 3 months to become millionaires, and they were, top producers. So, but I think that you can become a millionaire within 5 years if you, again, have a very specific goal, want to become a millionaire in 5 years, and then you find out, how do I do it? There's different ways of doing it. I did it through real estate, and the way that I did it was I bought properties well under market value. I kind of followed the BRRRR method that Brandon Turner talks about, and then I followed the BRRRR method, but then I added lease options to it.
Mm.
And then through, connecting with people, through like lunches and things like that, and building a good network, I really learned a lot about the process. I learned a lot about how to do it more efficiently, more effectively. And so I think building a team obviously is important, but networking with other people that are performing at a level that you want to get at. For me, that was really, really helpful in my process of becoming a millionaire within just a few years. So anyway,
Yeah.
just wanted to share that with you.
Well, I love how you break that down, Shiloh, because it's one, it kind of makes it a little bit more actionable to some way, right? It's believable because you can see that process of what got you to where you are. But I know we were talking before we went on the air, talking about me being on the Ryan Pineda show. And Ryan Pineda, like it was interesting because the two things that Ryan Pineda would often talk trash about, was one, passive income, which I talk a lot about.
Hmm.
And then two, not as often, but he would trash talk infinite banking, right? Which I
Hmm.
also talk about. And it ended up being a really good interview because, he even came to the conclusion, it's like, wow, infinite banking can be awesome. In fact, for just one reason alone, I would do it for that. But then on the other side, the passive income side, we're talking about that. And I told him, it's like flat out, like what you described, Shiloh, like the path that most people use to become millionaires quickly. And quickly, like you said, is a subjective term. It's not like, You just wake up one day, you roll out of bed, you invest no money, you invest no time, and then all of a sudden you become a millionaire in like 90 days. That just
Right.
never, ever,
Right.
well,
Well,
unless you inherit something, that
right.
doesn't happen.
Well, let me give you some more detail about that. So, as I said, I'm a therapist. I'm still a therapist today.
Yeah.
And so, with building our company, my business partner and I, we didn't take out any profits for the first 5 years. So I
Right.
continued to be a therapist. I'm still a therapist, but I continued to work as a therapist, and that was what you know brought in the majority of my living was
Mhm.
being a therapist. And
Yeah.
so I
It
think
also
that
allowed you to use your credit too, didn't it?
yeah, I mean it was really helpful for me. Yeah, so I used credit in order to build, and my credibility as a therapist also helped me get people that wanted to invest with us and everything
Mhm.
like that. But I guess what I'm trying to point out is that um, you got to be careful. So many people, when they get into real estate and all of a sudden they get their first deal done, and they want to go and spend it. And to be honest, I did the same thing
Mhm.
with that $13,000 that I made at the beginning. I went and I bought a new car. It was new to me at least. It was a 2012 Toyota Prius. I love
Mhm.
that car. In fact, I've owned five Toyota Priuses. And it's great because I went back and forth to California because I moved my family out there so my kid can do some acting. And I would go back and forth from Arizona to California, and I had a full like what do you call it? Just a mattress pad in the back of my car, and so I would drive halfway, sleep for 6 hours, then I'd get home, and it was just a really fun experience. But I bought that car because of the experience that I had with that first flip. But then, as soon as I was done with that, I'm like, all right, we need to be wise with our money. We need to be wise about how we invest. And so we didn't spend money outside of that. And
Mhm.
so all that money was going back in, back in, and back in. And
Right.
so I think discipline is super important if you're going to build something really valuable. You got to have the discipline. You have to get up and develop systems and go and go and go. And for me, one of the systems that I developed was I got on a bunch of wholesaler lists. And so even today, I get like 100 wholesale deals sent to me, and I know what I'm looking for. I can look at 100 deals within probably 5 to 10 minutes a day. And the reason being is because I know where I buy, I know what I buy, I know what price point I buy at. And do those change? The price point changes because
Mhm.
now we're in a market where things are more expensive, but I still know what I buy compared to the comparables in the area. Um, and then when I'm ready to buy something, I look at the pictures and then I'll call up the wholesaler. And I'm like, hey, I'm really interested in this deal. Um, Answer me these 7 questions. How's the roof? How's the electrical? How's the plumbing? How's the foundation? How's the HVAC? How does it smell? And then is there any functional obsolescence? Basically,
Yeah.
meaning, is there anything weird about the house that just doesn't make it work?
Mhm.
Right. And so if I know that information, I can make a decision to buy a house within like 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
then I am able to send out a earnest money, either wire it or I'll have my assistant go and drop it off. Um, but but I can do that because of the experience that I've had over time. And that's the thing is when you do something, you get all of those repetitions, you recognize when a deal is a good deal. And I don't make money on all of my deals. I would say I make money about 90% of the time on my deals,
Mhm.
which if you average it out, I'm still way ahead.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And so I would say discipline and then creating systems where you do it over and over and over again, you'll get better and better at that one thing. And just, dedicate yourself to one thing for 5 years and learn everything you can about it and do it really, really well. And you'll become one of the top people in that field.
If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. Yeah, you're definitely not overnight millionaire, but I will say the key is this. I mean, you're either trading time or money, right?
Mhm.
Or both, right? Especially in in a lot of these cases. And you did that. Like you put it into a form of a business, even if it was like a side hustle for you, because you're still being a
Mhm.
therapist during the day,
Right. Yeah.
Batman at night, becoming your, billionaire self at nighttime, but
Right.
you were doing that on the side. And that's how you were able to build that wealth. I mean, you essentially created your own 401k plan, your own retirement plan, but like you said, reinvested it for those 5 years to make a lot more money than anybody who would be doing the traditional 401k plan, right? You were
Right.
essentially reinvesting that money because anybody who puts money in a 401k plan sets it and forgets it. It goes out of their life, never comes back to them. I mean, they have to be
Mhm.
disciplined because that money is locked away in prison. And
Right.
then they're
Yeah.
supposed to get it decades from now. You just did it in a much faster scenario to be able to access that money within 5 years or so. That's,
Right.
I think that for many people, that if you put it in that kind of context, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you have if you want to have that drive to do it, and especially if you don't have a lot of cash, like if you don't have a lot of capital, that's the one of the only ways, in my opinion, to quickly become a millionaire is to do it through some sort of business setting like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And if you're starting out with very little capital, the thing that I would say is one, why do you have very little capital? That's the
Mm.
biggest question. Because if you're an adult and you don't have any money, then what you're doing is not correct. And I don't mean to say that in order to make people feel bad about themselves, but
Right.
every adult should have an account that continues to grow, even if it grows just a little bit each month. That's one thing that I learned. So I did some mission work down in Costa Rica for a couple of years, and I came back and I started going to school, and I was looking for a job, and I got a job at a bank. And I learned a ton about people's spending habits at the bank. But while I
Hmm.
was at the bank, I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Hmm.
Fantastic book. I would recommend that. That's like one of my top five books of all time. Definitely recommend to everybody to read that book. One of the things in that book, it talks about paying yourself first. And
Hmm.
so you pay yourself first and don't let it be less than 10%. So I opened up an account and I would just deposit 10% into that account. So every month I was richer than I was the month before, even if it was only by $100.
Yeah.
But that mindset of doing that was fantastic. And then one day I'm at the bank and this bank teller opens these rolls of quarters and they fall on the floor. And she said to herself out loud, huh, that's weird. Those don't sound like normal quarters. So she picked them up and she looked at them. And these quarters were pre 1965 quarters. So 1964 and earlier, which,
Wow.
if you know a lot about coins, they
Mhm.
were 90% silver. She's like, oh, this is a silver quarter. And so I looked at it, I'm like, huh. And she's like, I said, where'd you get that? Well, I just got it from my drawer. Somebody came and, deposited a lot of, coin recently, and they didn't have the person's like account number written on them. And so they were just there. So I went to my account that had that money that I'd been saving, and I went and I pulled out 40 bucks, which isn't a big deal, but I bought four rolls of quarters. Then I sold them on eBay for 160 bucks.
Yeah.
So again, not a big deal, but for me, at the very beginning, that was one of my first investments, buying silver quarters and selling them on eBay for four times what I bought them for.
Yeah.
And just that mindset of having money there ready to deploy for opportunities that would present themselves. There's a lot of opportunities, but if you're not prepared for them, it doesn't matter if they're there or not, because you just can't
That's
take
right.
advantage of them. So get yourself into a place where you can take advantage of things. Make sure you're saving every time you get money, you put just a little bit away, and that is going to become your freedom account. Over time, that account's going to become bigger and bigger, and you're going to learn how to invest more wisely over time until that account has created freedom for you. So that's my opinion.
No, that's a great point. I mean, that it's so simple. And I know it's simple, but so, like you said, so few people actually really master that in their own lives. And I get it. Life can get in the way. There can always be curves, but it's such a good discipline to have. And definitely recommend reading, Richest Man in Babylon. That's definitely a great book to read. So as long as you get past some of the interesting words and names and things like that, once you get
That's
past that,
true.
it's easy.
It's kind of written like the Bible.
It kind of is. Yep, for sure. Well, Shiloh, I always ask this question, or at least I have started in the last year or so. I've been asked this question of all of our guests when they come on the Many Ripples podcast. We talk about creating that ripple effect, right?
Mhm.
And so, Shiloh, for you in your life, what do you feel is the ripple effect you're here to create on this planet?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's a deep question.
Mhm.
Um, I was a wrestler in high school, and I think that wrestling was one of the things that has, I don't know, been one of the top things that I've ever done in my life. It helped me become a man, more than many other things, through teaching me discipline, hard work, and everything like that. And there's a guy that came out of Utah that was a little bit older than me. His name is Cale Sanderson. And if you are a wrestler, then you probably know who he is. So he was a four-time high school state champion. He went to college and wrestled, and he's the only one that has never lost a match in all of in all of college.
Hmm.
Then he went to the Olympics, got gold medal, and then he's now the head coach of Penn State wrestling. And they've won, I think, 10 out of the last 12 national championships. And so the reason I bring him up is because he could have quit along the way of so many times where he's like, four-time state champion, I'm good. Four-time college wrestler, never lost a match, I'm good. I can move on from here. Goes to the Olympics, gets gold, I'm definitely good. Then he goes and he
Nowhere to
starts
go but
coaching.
down, right?
I know. But the thing is, what happened was, I don't know, he could have quit along the way, just having accomplished so much.
Yeah.
But I think for me, and this kind of comes to kind of a religious thing, is I want to fulfill my full potential. I don't want to stop somewhere along the way just because, well, I've accomplished a lot. I can kind of slow down and just stop. What I want to do is I want to fulfill the highest potential that I have. Jim Rohn says, or asks the question, how high does a tree grow? And the answer is as high as it possibly can.
Mhm.
I want to grow as best as I possibly can in as many ways as I can, both as a business owner, as well as a husband, a father, a friend. It's important to me to better myself and become a better version of me, because I think as I do that, going back to your question, I think that can create the biggest effect on other people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I mentioned earlier about some of the mission work that I did down in Costa Rica, since having done that 25 years ago, I've gone back and over the last couple of years, as you mentioned before, I purchased three properties in Costa Rica, and they're beautiful properties. They're wonderful properties. But the caretakers that are at each property, because I have caretakers at each property, they take care of the guests that come because I rent these out on Airbnb and VRBO and the short-term rentals. Um, but but the caretakers are people that I knew 25 years ago as a
Mhm.
missionary, and they're just some of the best people in the world. And COVID really hit Costa Rica really hard, and a lot of people really struggled and lost businesses and things like that. And so it's been really nice for me to be able to have them live on site of these beautiful properties and take care of the guests as they come, because again, they're some of the best people that I know. And so I'm so happy that I've been able to give back to these people that were so kind to me when I was in my early 20s. And they brought me into their home and fed me and all of these things. It's so great that I'm able to bring this opportunity for them to live in these beautiful places and take care of people like they took care of me. So I would say maybe that's one of the ripples that I have in this world, is an effect on some people down in Costa Rica that were so wonderful in my life.
Yeah. You're able to fulfill the measure of your creation while helping others, do it as well because you're able to do that. So you basically just described the whole purpose of the show. So good job.
Thanks, man.
So, well, Shiloh, appreciate your time here. Social media, is that where you want people to follow you?
Yeah, actually, you know what? The easiest way they can follow me, just go to my website, meetshiloh.com.
Yeah.
So MEETSHILOH .com. And there you have all of my social media, everything with my social media and things like that. So you can connect with me there. Can I say one more thing real quick
Yeah.
about so with Costa Rica, we have these three beautiful properties. Some of the things that I do is people that are either high level investors, they've invested a lot and they want to go and do some mastermind with other people. I do host mastermind groups out there, usually in April each year, and so I have one coming up in a couple months. And they're just super fun to get together with other high level investors and network and mastermind and things like that. And then I have one in August that's for new investors, people that are just learning how to invest. They want to learn how to do it well. So I bring them there and I teach them the basics of how to invest and how to do it well. And so anybody that loves Costa Rica and wants to come learn, and it's great, great opportunity. And you can find that out by going to my website as well.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your time, Shiloh. It's great stuff. And yes, guys, I've seen those properties. They're gorgeous. Just for that alone, you might want to see it. So, but anyways, we'll put that in the show notes. Make sure we have the meetshiloh.com for you. And again, appreciate your time today, Shiloh.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris.
Well, everybody, there you have it. Can you get rich quick? Well, the answer is it depends, right? But is it definitely possible? Yes, it can be possible. Real estate is one of the best ways to do that if you do it the right way. And so, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Remember, don't just be a hearer of the show, but also be a doer of it as well. Go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. And we'll see you later.